Sajid, one thing I will tell you, and I will say this to all of you guys, there are a lot of conservatives, rural conservatives, working class people who voted for Trump who absolutely agree with single payer healthcare, who understand. Here's what RFK had to say regarding our food and why this Make America Healthy Again initiative is a big deal. Unfortunately, Minalita, there's a lot of people out there who will ask you to do as they say, not as they do. I saw that picture too. The message still stands.
This is what most Americans innocently put into their bodies these days, and most alarmingly, into the bodies of their children. And it's no coincidence that Americans die earlier than Canadians or Germans or Italians or Japanese or Koreans or Australians or most any other comparable country. And it wasn't always that way. Until the early 1990s, our life expectancy was the same or better than other developed countries. Then suddenly, more and more Americans began suffering from chronic diseases, from obesity, cancer, diabetes, kidney disease, Alzheimer's, heart disease, and all kinds of autoimmune diseases. Our maternal mortality rate soared to the highest of any developed country on earth. Same with infant mortality. Like the frog in the slowly boiling water, we didn't really notice as we got sicker and sicker. We've grown now to accept chronic disease conditions as normal. But now, in 2024, we're finally waking up to this cataclysm, and we're asking ourselves, how in the world did this happen? A big part of it is our diet. Restaurants that serve contaminated food are fined or shut down. But when it's the government that approves the poisons in our food, a few people get very, very rich, and the toxins end up in every supermarket aisle. Let me show you what I mean. Doritos, Cheez-Its, Captain Crunch, gummy bears. Everyone knows that these are junk foods, so maybe you wouldn't be too surprised to see that.
But remember, the important thing to remember about this is what's key here, guys. We know, at least I think most of us know, that the foods that he's showing us are junk and basically poison. But much like our involvement in the political arena, we are a microcosm of the greater problem because most people don't follow this stuff. How many people really read the labels on the food that they eat when they go into the supermarket? Especially anything that comes in a box or a bag. Probably not.
The ingredients include a lot of poisons, including a harmful yellow dye called tatrazine, or yellow dye number 5. What you may not know is that this dye was originally made out of the sludge that's left over when you turn coal into coke for blast furnaces. It's called coal tar, and I've actually sued many big industries for legacy contamination of coal tar all around the country because it's so toxic and it's so harmful to the environment and human beings. A century ago, it was just an obnoxious industrial byproduct that everybody was trying to figure out ways to get rid of. One of the ways that they did that was by paving roads. But then a British chemist figured out that the coal tar could be used to derive fabric dye. And if fabric dye, why not food? Food manufacturers began using it to cover up the discoloration of low-quality foods that they wanted to pass off on unsuspecting customers. They didn't know back then that this yellow dye, tartrazine, causes tumors, asthma, developmental delays, neurological damage, ADD, ADHD, hormone disruption, gene damage, anxiety, depression, intestinal injuries.
This is a prime example of why we can't get anything done. You don't like listening to him, Jay? Too fucking bad. He's the only one talking about it. Don't hate the messenger. Or you can hate the messenger. Don't hate the message. Because everything he's saying is correct. About this. Maybe not about everything, that's for sure, but not about this. He's right about this. Completely right.
It's in everyday kid snacks like popcorn, mac and cheese, fruit snacks. It's in sports drinks like Gatorade and so-called vitamin water. It's even added to chicken broth, to corn, to pickles, to mustard, and to yogurt. And so, of course, our kids get sick. And we lovingly feed them chewable vitamins which have, surprise, tartrate. If just one of them can cause all of these problems, imagine what they're doing in combination. That has never been studied. If we took all of these chemicals out, our nation would get healthier immediately. We'd have fewer sick days. We'd have better focus. We'd have less anxiety. Our kids would learn more easily. We'd lose weight. We'd have more energy. We'd have fewer tumors and longer lives. Enough is enough. President Trump and I are going to stop the mass poisoning of American children. Together, we're going to make America healthy again.
All right, let's see it. You've got a window to show us what you got. He is going to very likely get confirmed. He is a Kennedy. I want to give him an opportunity to show what he is capable of doing. Considering how bad things are, honestly, I don't think we can sink any lower. Now, some of you might say, well, that's not possible. We could definitely sink lower. I mean, I guess, but what we put in our bodies is a huge part of why we're such a sick country. Smoking's bad, the drinking's bad, drug abuse obviously is bad. But make no mistake, we are not a healthy nation by any stretch. We're one of the most unhealthy, and we have an obesity crisis. And part of the reason we have that is this poison that gets put into our foods. And make no mistake, most of this stuff is highly addictive. I told this story before, I'll tell it again. I can remember when I was going to probably the most southwestern portion of the congressional district, door knocking for Jen during the campaign. And I actually stopped at McDonald's. This is the first and only time I've stopped at McDonald's in I can't tell you how many years. If you told me it was 10 years, it could very well be that long. I stopped at McDonald's. I got a double filet of fish sandwich. And I can remember biting into that sandwich and just thinking, I can see why this is so addicting. I can see why people come back for it all the time. And who knows how much poison is in that sandwich. And because the fast food mega giants like McDonald's get subsidized, they can afford to sell you these sandwiches on the cheap. Whereas eating healthy is not cheap. It's expensive. Remember, a lot of these industries are all interconnected. So that's why they're able to do what they do. Travers, as somebody who lives in the UK, I can't say for sure if there is any truth to that. You would have to cite it. I cannot speak to that. Correct. Sugar is really, really bad. And as John Nada says, I think we just need a yellow vest movement at this point. But who's going to lead it? We're so very broken up. It's going to take time, Don, but believe me, it'll be worth at least seeing where this is going to go. And you're right. Salt, fat, and sugar, when you put them all together, like they do at McDonald's, the bun's got sugar, the sandwich has fat, and it has salt, including the sauces, etc. You bite into it, it's like crack. That's what happens. The idea is to get you hooked. That's what it is, Kat. It is the Holy Trinity. Well, you're probably right, Knack, but ultimately I wouldn't know because I don't go there. My recommendation, Listen, the fries at McDonald's are the best fries. They're totally incredible. If you've ever had them, believe me, they're really great. You're going to love them. Tremendously incredible. That is not true, Tim. I don't know who taught you that, but that's not true at all. It depends on what type of carbs you're putting into your body and what type of fat you're putting into your body. The healthiest carbohydrates that you could put into your body are obviously not processed. Usually a good source of fiber, possibly even fat. There's basically 2, 3. When it comes to the type of grains you want to eat, I mean, obviously, when it comes to the main dishes, I'm basically pescatarian across the board. I love fish, just seafood in general. Even that's becoming a real problem. I did not, I mean, if you're asking me, did I like it? I think it was a good message, and Super Size Me was made 20 years ago. And it has as much relevance today as it did then. But if you're going to eat a carbohydrate-based diet, steel-cut oatmeal is really good. Sweet potatoes, really good. Quinoa, really good. And brown rice is decent. But those are your 4. Those are your 4 grains that are carbohydrate heavy, that are just fine to have in your diet as a regular staple with your meals. Quinoa, brown rice, sweet potatoes, steel-cut oatmeal. Those are your best bets. You can also get some protein out of broccoli. You can also get some protein out of spinach. My 3 favorite greens: broccoli, spinach, and asparagus. And in particular, with broccoli and asparagus, I like to bake them in the oven with some avocado oil and a little bit of salt. And that's it. And they taste great. That's correct, Mac. If BlackRock is recommending anything, it's to make sure that you're not healthy. Couldn't agree more. Aspartame should not exist. You're better off having regular sugar if you need to have it. I love cauliflower too, Sisyphean. I think cauliflower is excellent. In fact, cauliflower is another great substitute for chicken, especially if you like, if you've ever had buffalo cauliflower, especially if it's roasted. Oh, excellent, excellent food. Vegetable oils are absolutely atrocious. Grapeseed, vegetable, canola, soybean. And you know, when you look at the labels on all those bags, the Cheetos, the Doritos, it's all there, all of it. And it takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of discipline to move away from it. Tim Buck coming in hot with some really good commentary. The keto diet definitely works. It takes a hell of a lot of discipline, but obviously it shouldn't be forever. Generally speaking, I would think otherwise. Schultze, this is becoming a little bit more of a regular occurrence now. Make sure you hit that like button. Very important. But Sunday nights for the pontificating crowd, I hope you guys will stick around. Got 51 people watching right now. I don't know how many people have hit the like button. We're going to finish up with a fairly lengthy segment. That's really, really amazing. And if that's what you did to honor your late wife, I'm sure she's very proud of you.